Welcome back. Will Worsham joins us for this week's Speaking Legal discussion. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, good to see you.
No, I'm glad to be here.
How's life going for you?
Yeah, you know, it's going everywhere, right?
Literally everywhere.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Oh, you seem relaxed.
Well, I try.
Yeah.
And looks like you got a little color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Get a little sun. You know, when you sit, because my son's shooting trap.
Oh.
So we sit out and we watch trap, and I get tan and I get sunburned, and it's
How's he doing?
He's doing fantastic. I'm going to retire. I'm going to be his agent.
Really?
Perfect.
Yeah, no, when he gets his Olympic sponsorships from being an Olympic trap shooter, I'm going to be his agent, and that's how I'm going to retire.
He's that good.
He is that good.
Is it Jack?
Fantastic.
It's Jack. He's 13. He shot his first 25 straight. He got second at the Kansas State shoot this last weekend.
Wow.
Man,
He's
proud
fantastic.
father.
You got good sons.
I really do.
You lucked out.
I really did.
All right.
They got a good mom, so, you know,
They got a
That
good
makes
dad.
all the difference
pick
right
well,
there.
and
Yeah.
that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Right. All right, well, it's time for this week's question. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this week's question is, my son got behind in his rent and his landlord filed an eviction in court. We paid the landlord the past due rent, but he says that he's still going to court for the eviction because of the late fees, the court costs, and attorney fees. They're all still due. Can he even do that even though they paid up on the rent? That's a very good question.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you know it is. It comes up all the time. And, you know, the fact of the matter is if the landlord's lease is drafted properly, yeah, he absolutely can do that because I represent landlords.
Okay.
And so we draft them. And the way we draft those leases is when you make a payment, those payments are paid to late fees, attorney's fees, court costs, and then finally to the rent. And so if all you paid is the rent, you may have said, hey, this is for the rent, but the landlord doesn't have to accept it that way. They can accept it the way that the contract is written. And so, yeah, when you're late on the rent, you have to pay the rent, the late fees, the attorney's fees, and anything else that is due in order to be current, become current on that
What
rent.
if they were to pay those? Would
Yeah,
he still...
then it's fine. And because the law is clear, if you become current on everything you do your landlord, you get to stay in that property. And that's important because a lot of landlords don't know that, and a lot of tenants don't know that. But if once you become current, then you're good and you can abide by the terms of your lease and you can stay in that property even if the landlord doesn't want you there.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
even if you paid everything, everything, you could stay?
But you have to pay everything. And so the day that you're late, you are responsible for the rent, the late fees, and if they have paid a lawyer to file an eviction lawsuit, then you have to pay the attorney's fees and the court costs. But if you pay it all, you do get to stay.
Now, is that standard in a leasing contract? Like
Well,
everything you just said? Is that standard?
Well, if a good lawyer's drafted them, like the way we draft them, then
Right.
yeah, that's going to be standard. But, you know, there's a lot of landlords out there that we've talked to that don't have those things in there. But when we draft our leases, it says, hey, if you make a payment, it applies first to late fees and attorney fees and court costs and finally to rent.
Well, you can see why they wouldn't, maybe, if this is something that happens a lot, why they wouldn't want that tenant to stay there.
Well, you know, and the idea is, hey, listen, tenants want to be good tenants, or good tenants want to be good tenants.
Right.
Good landlords want to be good landlords. And so people want to pay their rent on time, and landlords want those tenants that are paying their rent on time to stay in those properties. So if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, everybody's happy. It's when we get into situations where we're trying to play the games that it doesn't work out right.
So then let me flip the coin here just a second then. They paid what they thought was the rent.
Right.
Would their lawyer have then recommended saying, hey, guess what? It's not going to do a hill bean difference. Don't pay that money. Because now they probably don't have the money for a down payment on another house to move
Exactly.
Well, that's right. Well, and there are lawyers that'll take your case for anything. You know, if you're willing to pay their fee, they'll take your case. But the fact is, good lawyers check CaseNet. We have, in Missouri, we have it's called CaseNet. You can look. And so if you have a history of being evicted from your apartments because you haven't been paying your rent or your attorney's fees or whatever, a landlord's going to find that out. It's going to be very hard to find a new place to rent. So it's always best to pay your rent on time, and if you're a little late, hey, pay whatever is required by your contract, no more, but what is required, and that's going to keep you in good stead with your landlord, keep you in that apartment, and keep you from having that bad track record on CaseNet.
It's just better for everybody because a landlord can turn you down based on your history. Is that true?
They absolutely can.
So would this go against them in this case then? Even if they paid up technically what they said it was their
Well,
rent?
it's going to depend on that contract and how that lease is written. But if it's written properly, then yes, the judge is going to look at it and go, well, you paid court costs, you paid attorney's fees, and you paid court costs, but you didn't pay the full rent, so you're not paid up. So yeah, I have to evict you.
Tricky.
Yeah.
tricky
Yeah.
situation. All right, thanks,
All right.
Will. Well, if
You're
you have a
welcome.
legal question for Will, you can email him at wworsham@color10.com, and he'll answer your question right here on the show. Thanks,
All right,
Will.
very good.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Will.